I'm going to do a little bit different of a video today because of everything going on in Minnesota with ICE and the two fatal shootings of Renee Nicole Good and Alex Pretti. So I think we're just going to take a look at that. Welcome back to Pretty Politics. Okay, so getting right into it, I think that both the situations are tragic and they should not have happened. Now, I don't think either situation is the same. I don't think it was handled the same, and I don't think it's okay to equalize both situations. What happened with Renee Nicole Good was self-defense, in my opinion, from my point of view, from the point of view of the administration and many others. Renee Nicole Good refused a federal officer ordering her to flee the scene, to stop interfering with law enforcement, and then to open her car. When she locked her car and refused to open it, the ICE officer began to open her car as she began to drive away, as her partner instructed her to do. She ended up assaulting or battering a federal agent, putting his life in danger. Recently, one of the federal agents, in fact, the one that ended up shooting her, ending her life, was recently drugged 300 feet in a situation at work where he was attempting to detain an illegal immigrant. I think that he thought that his life was in danger yet again, and he needed to neutralize the threat, the situation, because when she hit an officer and the vehicle did not stop, even if it was her intention to hit him or not, even if she just nudged him or ran him over, it does not matter. She does not have the legal right to flee, to disobey a legal order from a federal agent, or to interfere with legal proceedings. So with all that being said, I think Renee Nicole Good's death was tragic. It shouldn't have happened. She shouldn't have been there. Her plates were from Missouri. She had children out of state. She was known as an ICE warrior. She was on ICE watch. And this was something that she did in her spare time. She doxed ICE agents. She went after them. She wanted to interfere with federal agents in their investigations. And that's a crime. She shouldn't have been there. She shouldn't have been doing that. And she shouldn't have used her car as a lethal weapon or as a means to disobey federal officers. Moving into the Alex Pretti shooting that just happened this last Saturday in Minneapolis by Border Patrol, not ICE. So I want things to be clear. Facts need to be clear. Because when you start saying things that aren't true, even just a little bit, it confuses the entire story. Alex Pretti was announcing ICE and Border Patrol in the neighborhood, getting involved once again in a federal investigation and obstructing justice, obstructing federal officers from doing their job. He saw that women were getting pushed by the agents because they were refusing to move. They were refusing to back up. They were getting in the agent's face, and then they got sprayed with pepper spray. Alex, I'm sure, just wanted to be the hero. Either way, your intentions, you don't batter or assault a federal agent or a police officer or anybody for that matter. You don't go up and push somebody, especially when they're legally just doing their job, which is exactly what Border Patrol and ICE are doing, just their job, their legal duty. With all of this being said, I've heard disputes that he shouldn't have brought a weapon with multiple magazines to a protest that is highly volatile in the first place. He's at fault for it. I think that argument is stupid because you have the right to conceal to carry. He had the right to conceal to carry. It doesn't matter how many magazines he had on him. He had the right to have that weapon. Was it a good idea? No. He should not have done it, but he had every right to have it. So it doesn't matter that argument just falls apart. He has every right to have that weapon. What he doesn't have the right to do is obstruct federal agents from doing their job and assault them by pushing them, fighting back. You don't have the right to physically fight back in a situation where federal agents are ordering people off the street so they can continue with doing their job. It's the same with police officers. And if you watch body cam videos, you see it all the time when people are coming up while they're doing an investigation of a car accident or a DUI or whatever. When people are trying to get involved, they're obstructing an investigation and they get detained or arrested. If they push the officer, that is a federal crime. You can't do that in the streets. That's not a peaceful protest. You can stand on the sidewalk with your sign, but you cannot get into their face and push them because they are clearing the street doing their job. You can't do that. The weapon that he had has multiple lawsuits going towards it, going towards the design, the manufacturer, because it does misfire often. From my perspective, because this needs to be investigated, I think they knew he was armed once they got close to him after they started getting physical with him. They saw that he was armed. There was multiple officers. I saw an officer disarm Alex without announcing it. That's negligent for one. You need to announce when you have removed the threat, the lethal threat from the suspect or the person who is of target at the moment, so that everybody else knows he's not a lethal threat. They heard the gun go off out of a limited lens of fighting with somebody who brought a weapon to a protest, who had already physically gotten involved with an officer by pushing them and wrestling them to the ground, that their life was in danger. I truly believe the officer who shot thought his life was in danger and everybody else around him. There were civilians as well as other officers around him. I think it was negligent that it wasn't announced. The weapon was seized from him. I think it's negligent. This was a tragic case. I don't think that we need to demonize an entire system because there's going to be flaws, especially when we're getting consistent push from Democratic politicians like Tim Walz and Jacob Fry and AOC. I mean, they're constantly telling people to resist. They're losing grip of their narrative, and so they're putting the responsibility onto the civilians who don't agree or don't know or don't like what's going on to fight back, to fight their fight, because they're losing in legislation. They want the citizens to uprise. They want this to happen. And if you want my opinion, which if you're here and you're watching my channel, hopefully you do, they want things like this to happen so that Trump is more inclined to invoke the Insurrection Act or invoke martial law so that they can say, see, I told you so. He's trying to invoke martial law. He's trying to take control. He's going to do this to every state across the United States. They're going to push that narrative. It's not necessarily the people who are in control of the policies that are in control of the communities. If you control the narrative, then you can control the community much more than you can control the community with policy. And you can easily see that throughout the last 100 years, given the political environment between the Democratic and the Republican Party. Alex Pretti. This situation needs to be highly investigated. I think it's irresponsible for the administration to jump to the conclusion as fast as they did. And I think they know that because Trump, just today, January 26th, is backpedaling and he's understanding that this is a tragedy. Instead of saying it's not a tragedy, it's Alex's fault, he's saying that it's the Democrats' fault for pushing this narrative that you need to go armed to a protest where it's highly volatile. That's not the right message you want to send to your people. The start to my 2026 is absolutely insane. It's not even through the first month of the year and so much has happened already. TikTok is breaking completely. creators are leaving left and right. They're jumping ship because they are no longer paying their creators what they're worth. People were going from hundreds or thousands of dollars to barely making $100 a month on their content, getting the same views, getting the same interaction, getting the same engagement rate. It's insane. So I'm shifting my content over to Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. I also have a Substack. I write much better, much more clear than I can verbally articulate. So if you're interested in reading and you actually like the opinions that I have or the philosophical ideas that I have, then feel free to check out Substack, because that's where more of my conspiratorial angles come from. This is a really complicated situation, and it's a really complex one that needs nuance. And if you are listening to anybody who's telling you what happened one way or another, they're wrong, because they weren't there, they weren't in the moment, and they don't have all the angles or all the information. So I think it's fair to say that nobody knows what they're talking about until an investigation is thoroughly put forth and we can understand what happened. I think that there needs to be accountability. If you want so much autonomy in society, if you have full bodily autonomy, then you need full bodily accountability. You need to be accountable for your actions. I think that the Border Patrol agent or ICE agent, whoever it was that shot the shot that killed Alex Pretti, there should be an investigation, and there needs to be more training. If anything, this was neglectful. And if you are going to go and agitate federal officers who are also armed, don't go armed yourself. If you're going to peacefully protest, you have every right to carry. If you are in a concealed to carry state, you have every right to do that. But it's important to know that you're putting yourself at a higher risk if you are going to physically agitate federal officers whose life is in danger every single day they're on the job, whose people's life mission it is to dox them and their family, stalk them, find them, and wish them harm. If they're going to come across somebody who's already physically attacking them and they have a weapon, they're not going to think very highly of the situation at all. With all that being said, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, follow, hit that notification bell. Visit me on Substack. I just started my Facebook Pretti Politics culture and commentary. Feel free to check that out, as well as Jessica's content on Instagram and always my TikTok. Thanks. Bye.